Good afternoon, and it's my pleasure to welcome you and everyone who might be watching this online to the MFA Fine Arts Talk Series. Today, it's my pleasure to introduce Brian Andrew Whiteley, an alum of this program, MFA Fine Arts. So Brian is an artist and a cultural entrepreneur. I first encountered his work in the MFA Fine Arts thesis exhibition in 2013, a few months before I started as chair of this program. And I only remember a couple of works from that show. Denise Treitzman's crazy like swimming pool tube installation, swimming tubes, and yours. I remember 3 videos playing on flat screens on the wall, and a kind of like, I remembered it as a sexy leather-clad figure, but I think it was actually some kind of kinky clown bouncing up and down in like, and I remember really bright colors and just a kind of exuberant frenzy of performative movement. And it really stood out for me for its energy and its really contemporary vibe. To me, it felt like Paul McCartney on speed or something without all the
compliment, by the way.
Yes, it is a big compliment. So since then, Brian's continued to really push the edge, both in his artwork and in his day job as founding director of Satellite Art Fair, which to my knowledge has always been the coolest and most artist-friendly venue on Miami Beach when Art Basel has been in town. Since Satellite's first edition in 2015, it's expanded to New York and to Austin, Texas for South by Southwest. And Brian has opened a permanent venue, Satellite Art Club, in Brooklyn. You guys should go check it out. It's a good place to hang out. But let's not forget that Brian is first and foremost an artist. His work includes painting, sculpture, performance, video, and new media. And it's been exhibited at the Baltimore Museum of Art, Invisible Dog here in New York, the Wassaic Project up in the Hudson Valley, Spring Break Art Show, White Box Art Center when it was in Chelsea, the Zolla Lieberman Gallery in Chicago, the Cyclorama at the Boston Center for the Arts, the David Owsley Museum of Art in Indiana, Joshua Liner Gallery here in New York, Bushwick Open Studios, Art on Paper Fair, the Bakehouse Art Center in Miami, and let's not forget Cashel Braid, may it rest in peace, in Bushwick. He's also done public interventions in the presidential suite of the Trump Hotel in Washington, D.C., at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, installing his work between 2 restrooms, and also in Central Park, where he installed a gravestone like you find in a graveyard for Donald Trump. And it was promptly confiscated by the New York City Police Department. Brian's work, in large part because of these interventions, these kind of hacktivist projects, has been discussed widely in the media. He's really good at garnering media attention for his work, thereby extending its reach. It's been discussed in the New York Times, the New York Daily News, the Village Voice, England's Daily Mail, Gothamist, Brooklyn Magazine, ArtNet, the BBC, Time Magazine, Esquire, GQ, Fox. Try getting your work on Fox. NBC, ABC, and New York Magazine, along with lots of others. He's done a number of residencies, Mudhouse on the island of Crete in Greece, DNA, a residency presented by Freight and Volume in Provincetown, Mass. Did that one twice. The Woodstock residency upstate, Pineda de Costa in Cadiz in Spain, on the coast near Sevilla, I think. Wassaic and Sanctum Sanctorum. He is an alum of this program, having graduated in 2013, and before that did his undergrad at the infamous Ball State University, Bob Ross's alma mater in Muncie, Indiana. Please join me in giving it up for Brian Whiteley.
What's up, party people? How are you? Let me first say thank you for coming to this mandatory presentation. I really appreciate it. I hope I will give you a little backstory and let you know that everything's going to be all right, and I'll be your coach through this SBA project for a little bit here. I don't know where to start, but I was thinking of starting where Mark started, where he saw my first video art piece at my thesis project. It's kind of grown on from there, but this is the latest iteration of it. This is the most extreme. I'm only going to play like a couple seconds for you because I have a lot to go over. But this is what got Paul McCarthy on speed. Here you go. Let's stop that now. How do I get out of here? It's the performance work piece. The first edition I did of that was the idea of like, what if a clown went out and like, what would they do on their night out? And I was like, maybe a clown wanted to go to a go-go boys club, and so that was kind of that idea for that. We'll have questions, you can see your therapist later, okay? Don't worry about that. This isn't shown. Okay, so postgraduate, after my thesis, I kind of went into this media mode, and I think this is important for getting your artwork out there in like subversive ways. So I got a studio in Sunset Park, and I was like, it's right by the cemetery there, and I just started thinking about where this clown character could then start like living outside of the studio, and what can you do, and like how can you mess with people. So I created like 20 different Gmail accounts, took videos of me as this clown in the cemetery, and then slowly started leaking them to the media from all of these 20 different Gmail accounts until this thing went viral. And the cultivation of that was this one I did in Chicago. I flew out there for this art show I did at the Zolla Lieberman Gallery, and I went to the cemetery and I had this whole presentation planned. And this thing broke the internet. And AMC just is now doing a TV show about weird paranormal things. And they contacted me. They said, this is the realest clown sighting they've ever seen. And so they have paranormal experts going to be reviewing my documents, and like there's going to be a judgment on if it's real or not, and then I will get the final say. But I'll play this for you guys.
Creepy clowns running around cemeteries and city streets scaring people. There have been reports around the country, and now here in Chicago too.
Investigator Dave Savini has the freaky video to show you in this original report.
That's terrifying. That's disgusting.
You are looking at cell phone video of a person dressed in a clown suit, trespassing at the Rose Hill Cemetery in the dead of night.
It's pretty sick. It's creepy.
Julia Graham was, quote, freaked out when she figured out what the image was that she saw running toward the cemetery main gate.
And when we get closer, we realize it's a clown, which is super weird.
The first picture her husband snapped was of the clown scaling the main gate at the Ravenswood Avenue entrance.
This was somebody like putting forth a lot of effort and being really weird.
In the daylight, you can see the fence is about 7 feet high. Not an easy climb for anyone, let alone someone in a clown costume. It happened around 10 o'clock when the cemetery was clearly closed and locked for the night. Officials here don't know what to make of it because other than the trespass, they haven't seen or received any complaints of vandalism. Cemetery officials wouldn't go on camera, but CBS 2 did show them the video, and they called the clown trespassing incident bizarre.
So what is he doing right there?
Waving at us slowly. I'm freaking out.
It also isn't the only case.
Oh my God.
Videos and photos of creepy clowns surprising people on the streets of California at night went viral last year.
Oh my God.
And in New York, more of the same, but again, for some reason, in cemeteries.
Oh my God.
She didn't know about the other cases until we showed her.
That is like making light of a cemetery to me. Like just out to have a stroll with balloons.
Eventually, the clown, caught in the headlights of Graham's car, turns around and without saying a word, takes off into the darkness of the cemetery.
And you think that's disrespectful to the people that are buried there?
Definitely. I just think it's creepy and wrong.
Dave Savini, CBS 2 Investigators.
Strange, right? Well, cemetery officials were disturbed by the show of disrespect for those buried there. Chicago police say they haven't
The
received
girl in the
word of any
video,
other
that
claim.
was my friend from middle school. So it was like a whole big media kind of prank, but like doing these clown things got me to understand that you have a lot of tools to kind of get your artwork and vision out there if you can come up with a unique way to do it.
Did you ask her to play this part?
Yeah, no, like I sent out all of this, I sent out the video to the news and all of that and gave them her email account. And she's a lawyer, so she's good at lying. And when the news media was like, we want to have an interview, and I was like, will you do this? And she was like, absolutely. So this is one of those things that keeps haunting us because like AMC at TV, A&E or AMC, whatever, asked her to come back on and explain her side again. So she has to talk about this clown again, like, 8 years later. All right. Let's go to this one is kind of fascinating. Let's see, I don't want to take up too much time on these things, but as a performance artist, this was one of the best things that ever happened to me. I love going here at SVA, but there is some type of art to performing as Bigfoot. And I started performing as Bigfoot a while ago. And my first performances, I didn't have the right bodysuit. I didn't have the right kind of limber and lumber of a Bigfoot, and there's this website, a website called nabs.net, and it's North American Bigfoot Sightings.net. Okay, so if you get a video of Bigfoot, you can send it in there, and the experts will say if it's Bigfoot or if it's not. So I started sending in videos from different email accounts, right? And at first they're like, yeah, that's definitely a dude in a suit, and there's no way that could be Bigfoot for this and that reason. Look how he's walking, look at this. So I perfected my craft, and I got better and I got better. Okay, so this video went viral for a couple of reasons, because you have to have the right backstory to it. So I created a fake time-lapse video YouTube site, and I did time lapses of the sun going down in New York and here and there. And then one day we get a blizzard, and I went and I put my camera out in Prospect Park in Brooklyn, and I videotaped myself as Bigfoot, and then I submitted it through my YouTube channel, which was time lapses, to the media, and I said, I don't know what I got here, you have to be clever about it. It'd be clever, like, hey, I do this time lapse channel. I don't know what I caught, but I think it might be Bigfoot. So I'll show you this.
This was our mission, to find Bigfoot in Prospect Park after someone posted this video on YouTube claiming to have captured unbelievable footage of a huge and ominous furry creature on a side trail 7 a.m. Tuesday morning in the not-so-raging blizzard. So I put on my own animal hat, furry coat, and big-footed snow boots in search of our own Bigfoot. Do you think there's a possibility that there's a creature out here?
I know there's a lot of creatures out here.
Really?
Yeah. I've seen a few of them in my day.
Have you ever seen a creature that looked like that creature?
couple times.
So does it scare you to be running when Bigfoot could be out here?
I don't think it's real.
You don't think it's real?
No, it just looks like some guy walking in the woods.
Raccoons. That's what I say. Maybe it's a big raccoon.
The Brooklyn paper even called in a leading paranormal expert, whatever that really is, to shed some light on whether this video could have been fabricated. The expert is quoted as saying, if it's too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true. Maybe it's a monster. Maybe
Who knows? It could be something from the ocean. Who knows?
Really? Does that scare you as you walk?
Of course. It will scare anybody.
Right. So you'll be careful as you walk in Prospect Park.
Yes.
Not in Prospect Park, Brooklyn. Probably upstate, maybe? That's
Upstate?
about it.
Bigfoot is upstate?
Maybe somewhere.
But not in Prospect Park?
No, not at all.
There have also been reports of a Yeti prowling the streets of a snowy Boston suburb, but this mythical Himalayan ape has taken to Twitter, posting pictures of himself trying to hail a cab or claiming credit for school closings. Looks like a fake to some, not like our own Brooklyn Bigfoot, hiding from the cameras and lurking only in the shadows. They say there's a monster. Bigfoot.
Oh, stop playing.
What? You don't think Bigfoot is out here? We just want you to be safe. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? I just love, so Brooklynites are so kind. Here it is, such a cold night, and I'm running around asking them the question. And
So yeah, again, just kind of messing with people in a way, but that brought me to kind of like understand like how media works, and like the fake news angle. Like this was like fake news before fake news was a term, which brings me to this piece. Which obviously was loaded. This is when he was running for president. And I was selling a painting to a guy who was in medical marijuana sales. And I was like, look, I really want to make this art project, you know? And he's like, how much money do you need? And I was like, I need, you know, $2,500. He just came back with a bag of cash because he supported the concept. But speaking of that, like, if I would have put a death date on there, I would have eventually been put in jail. So I spoke with a lawyer, and it was like a very well thought out kind of concept, you know. The epitaph reads, "Made America Hate Again." It said, instead of make America Great Again, it's "Made America Hate Again." And it weighs 500 pounds. And so I went to this tombstone shop in Brooklyn by Greenwood Cemetery, where I did some clown sightings. And I looked at the different tombstones, and this one seemed apropos. I don't know, it's an aesthetic thing, you know, you see it like, ah, that's the one. So then I had it inscribed, you know, and it was kind of a weird battle because like people were saying he's not going to become president or all of that. And my timing was kind of running short. Just so happened I had it done, and I remember it was coming right upon Easter, and I bought a truck with a lift on the back of it, so it would lift up the weight of the tombstone, right? And I was laying in bed with my ex-wife, and she's like, do not put that tombstone in the Central Park. And at 3 a.m, I got out of bed and I drove the truck, parked it by Tavern on the Green, and I carted this thing into Central Park and placed it in there. And then I got back out, drove the truck back to Queens, went back to meet her for brunch, right? And I'm at brunch. I'm like looking through my phone, anything like Trump and Tombstone, you know, Googling it. And then it was like, on ABC News, Secret Service announces death threat to President Trump and an investigation. So there was like this moment, and this project is like gonna haunt me forever. I think that's how I got like most of my anxiety. Like I would be at my house and there would be like if there was like a black SUV outside, I would freak out, you know. I remember throwing my phone like across into the neighbor's yard and just like running, and then like walking around, and my wife didn't know where I was, and I come back like 6 hours later. And then there's this weirdest thing, my ex-wife's parents are in town, right? And apparently the Secret Service had done a big investigation, and they had been going to all the different tombstone shops in the greater New York City area. And they wound up going to the one I made the tombstone with. And these guys are like, they're like, yo, we live in Staten Island, and Queens guys, they're like, and when the Secret Service showed up, they were like immediately like, it's this guy Brian, that's definitely him. So my in-laws are in town, and all of a sudden, like, I remember I had to pick my kid up from school, and like my in-laws are in town, and all of a sudden there's this knock on the door, and it's the Secret Service. And like, I think, you go from like regular cop to like a detective to like FBI until you're at Secret Service, and these guys are like buff and smart, so it's like a weird combination, they're like big, bulky, and they like come into my house and they had to interrogate me. They asked me if I knew karate and kung fu, and if I was reading, like what books I read, and if I had any guns or knives, and like, then they had to talk to my sister, my ex-wife. They had to validate that I wasn't going to be like an assassin or something like that. And long story short, I can't go near any politicians. So that's what happened there. And it was covered internationally. It was like kind of a big story there. All right. Let's get on to funner topics. Oh no, let's do one more political. This piece I made, and I hung at the presidential suite of Donald Trump's hotel in Washington, D.C. Hold on, let me see what else. Yeah, there's me in the shoes, the receipts. So I can read. It was on the, okay, so I rented the suite with my friend, right? I can't go near politicians after the tombstone. So we rented the suite, and we brought in like a large package, and like we were traveling, most of them were empty, and so we got in and we had the suite ordered. We went up there, hung the painting, and it was kind of nice because like at some of these hotels, like the paintings are already screwed into the wall, so we just hung ours on top of it, and then we took a bunch of photos and all of that. So the presidential suite had a Vladimir Putin painting, which, by the way, that took a long time to make. And if you can see, it's kind of based on presidential portraits in general. And the background is the White House. Above it is like a red cloud. So it was kind of playing like into a lot of different like art history and all of that as well, and the presidential portrait history. So the funny parts of it, though, aside from making it, we went out the night that I hung it, and we went to this Republican bar nearby, right? And we started partying with a bunch of Republicans. And then we're like, hey, do you want to come back to the presidential suite at Trump's hotel? And like 10 of these people are like, absolutely. So we bring them back, and we're all like hanging out, jumping on the beds, and like, you saw the other picture of what was going on. And we're like, hey, look at this awesome picture of Vladimir Putin here. And they're like, yeah, Putin. And I'm like, it was surreal. It was a surreal experience because you could see different types of mindset happening in America. So anyways, after 3 months, I was like, I kind of like, if they didn't destroy it, I'd like to get the painting back. So I went back to DC, and I showed him the receipt for the room, and I said, I think I left something there. And we went into the room, and the painting had still been up. And I took it off the wall, and the guy, I don't know what it's like, a butler or whatever, the guy attending me grabbed me, and I'm like, no, look, it's got my name on it and everything. This is mine. This is what I was looking for. And then they strong-armed me out of the building with the painting. And so anyways, I think I got it there. Okay. Let me do this one. This is a more recent one. So I did an art show, kind of the performance art piece, where I went to his residency, as Mark said, in the DNA residency in Provincetown, and I made a whole series of artworks under the guise of Justin Bieber, where I dyed my hair blonde, I listened to Justin's music, and I painted as Justin. And then I decided it needs an art show, and I started promoting it online as Justin Bieber's. It was first called, I was thinking of the stupidest name for an art show, to be honest. So I called it Paintings from Space, and started promoting it online as Justin Bieber's art show. And I started, like, I took my one son's, he'd made a painting in kindergarten, and I used that as like the buy your print now image. Okay, so I had all these people from like LA and like big collectors contact me. They wanted to buy Justin's work. They loved it. It's literally a 5-year-old artwork, you know? So it got like bigger and bigger until like, these are my cease and desists from Justin Bieber's legal team. And some of the paintings are here, as you can see. And it got like some pretty mainstream news as well. Yeah, I was offering like $100,000 to, you know, buy one. And I showed up as Bieber, got, you know, butt autographs as well. But yeah, that was kind of insane. What else? How much time do I have here? What are we doing? Okay. I love, I showed you my clown video art piece. Let me show you this piece. I think this piece is kind of how I was trying to think about performance art, bridging it with installation as like a kind of way to like make things more interactive instead of just visually. So I worked with a sound designer, and I did, we created a kind of like 90s techno harsh music soundscape. Did lighting. I had video projections of myself as a video, and the video you'll see me projected there. And then I had several different performance artists involved in this project. And I gave each one of them like a flesh suit, and I asked them to like write down hateful things that people have said to them in the past about them. And then I also had a tattoo artist who would come by randomly, and if it said something on you that was hateful, he would cut it out of your flesh suit, then tattoo something positive on your body. So it was kind of like a feel-good project, but it was also very disturbing. We'll see. Let's take a couple, like a 2-minute look. there's more if you want to watch more on my website. Yeah. This one I did at SVA, but I don't know if we need to do that. Let's see. I think we can get like a little more tame now for a couple minutes, and then we can move on. Is everyone having fun? Yeah, all right, look at that. Oh, the Bigfoot thing, when I did one upstate, and I got shot at by somebody, and that's why I retired that project. I was in the woods, so I set up the camera and I was walking through, and then it was like big gun rifle, and I'm like, I'm done. I took it off because it's like, if you're a hunter, that's like the catch of the lifetime, right? If you got Bigfoot, come on. So done with that. I'm done with that. These are wearable clown headwear that I did a series on. We got showed it at Bakehouse in Miami, but they're mask wear headgear that you can perform in. And they work really well as sculptures as well. I guess that's about it. There's other stuff on my website, like a lot of different videos and performance pieces. These are more kind of, I don't know. You want some paintings? Okay. This is a series I did at the residency in Spain, and they're based on like early demonology. I was so fascinated with the fact that like somebody, like, I don't know if they're reading in the Bible, but they came up with their own visual depiction of what those demons could be. So a lot of these are like based on demons that were at churches and places in Spain. And I did an exhibit there. And a couple of these are going to Greece now for a show. See that? Look at that. What I tried to incorporate into these works is a sense of movement. And this is something I've been working on a lot with a lot of my new painting works, is that there's got to be a rhythm or some type of way for your eye to like move around the space. And that's why you see the swirls, and there's something sexual happening as well. And like, I want the eye to kind of move around. I want there to be a story that's happening, instead of like them being static in my mind. Like maybe your mind's different, but I like to provide a roadmap kind of through the artwork that gives people some type of way to traverse it. And then this project was just kind of serendipitous. I did a book, and I wanted to kind of get a little more basic, if you will, but it was actually a little profound, to just, when I was at the residency at Crete, and I just kind of wanted, it was hard to carry a bunch of art supplies there, so I brought like pads and pads of paper and markers, and I just was hiking all over, and instead of trying to think outside of my head, the landscape was so beautiful that I just wanted to kind of do simple landscape works, and I turned it into a book. But it's just works on paper, and these pages are from an abandoned hotel, like check-in log, but I just walked around, got suntan, and just made works on paper. And I'm really proud of the book. Yeah, I think that's a kind of good brief overview.
Art show?
Yeah, I can open the art show. All right, hold on. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Changing topics. Okay. Oh. So when I went to SVA, I also started an art fair. And it's grown into Satellite Art Show. I'll go through a little bit of that, but the ethos is mainly based on really honoring artistic, intuition and integrity, given a platform for artists that don't typically have a platform during Art Week. And some of the mandates have been to do installations, immersive works, just trying to push artists to do stuff that really showcases the absolute, like, 9 out of 10 of what their artistic value is, like really push it. So I can show you a couple editions. This is the last one I did, and this was on the beach in Miami. And to save money and to provide artists with opportunity, instead of doing like a tent, I got shipping containers and I placed them all along on the beach. And then I had them try to do as immersive of art projects as they can. Also worked with some high schools that for performing arts and artists. That was one of their projects, which I thought was great. Had art on the beach. I also like doing music and trying to like blend a little bit curatorially to make it more open for different people. So I've had Usher perform, Denzel Curry, Wiz Khalifa, Ghostface Killer from Wu-Tang Clan. Many different artists have come and performed at my event. That's me doing a keg stand. This is a project from House of Yes in New York. Inflatables, you name it, I've done it. And so we had, for that edition, like 200 artists. Let's see, I think the video shows it a little bit better. And I'll just play a couple, and then if you guys have questions after some of the videos, then you can ask me, okay? This is from last year. think there's an outro here. Won't be a party without a hippie bug, you know? So that was last year, 2 months ago in Miami. Yeah, but I've done a lot of these editions. I think I have time for like maybe one more. I'm gonna go back to an early one. This project, and like, it's a lot of uphill battle to kind of make something like this happen, and whether it's permitting or, you know, you just have to kind of learn as you go. This space was an abandoned hotel, and I showed up and there were squatters inside the hotel, dead birds, piles of garbage. So it's like they gave me a free space. It's on the beach in Miami, but you show up, I show up a week early, and it's like, how do I find some really cheap people to haul a lot of garbage, and how do I kick out homeless people? It was a very difficult situation. You know, I found the homeless guy a different place to stay, but this is. See you again in
Hey, so your feels can get at me. There's so many donuts on them back streets. Check, bill, check, take the L at the bar, just so I can flex, take the check, bill, check, take the L at the bar, just so I can flex, take the check, bill, check, take the L at the bar, just so I can flex, take the check, bill, check, take the L at the bar, just so I can flex, take the check, bill, check, take the L at the sun on back streets. Think it at me. Back streets. Think it at me. Back streets.
I think you get the picture. Yeah, we're doing that for a long time. Started while I was in grad school. So, I think that's enough time on me, right? Come on.
Can you talk about when you are working with other performance artists? Is that something where you are kind of performing with them? Are you acting as more of a director? Is it a collaborative experience? Thinking specifically of the piece where you were people were in skin suits and getting tattooed, and I'm sure that you've done other kind of like larger scale type group performance work.
Yeah, I think you have to give a little bit of leeway, like, you know, if you didn't want to get tattooed, and that's what the tattoo artists say, this performer doesn't want to get tattooed. I have tattoos all over me from weird performances, so I'm cool, they're cool, they're cool. So there's like a little bit of orchestration, and for that particular piece, working with like 6 performance artists, I gave some base roles, like, you know, you're gonna wear the skin suit, you have to write honestly on it ahead of time, like what are some hateful things that someone said to you, and then here's the stipulations. This is what is around the performance. Like I kind of want you to be troubled and like moving around erratically until the tattoo artist comes in and you can like calm down. Other than that, you can roll around on pillows, or I had like, I don't know if you remember that, like drinking stuff from, and that was like, I had, it's like a funnel of beer. You fill this thing up and there's all these scoops. So like kind of like this was like a 2-hour long project. So I wanted to make sure that they were better and something to drink. So I got these keg beer funnel thing, and I filled them up, and like whenever someone got thirsty, they could go over and do that. Like there was like some orchestration, but it kind of, you know, wanted people to have a little bit of autonomy. It's not like a theater production, basically. Right. Right.
Hi, thank you for your very thoughtful presentation. I have, I guess it's like a 2-part question, or well, I mean, they're not. The first one is, how do you relate your performance practice and everything to your painting areas side of your practice? Like, you can talk a little bit about the combination of the two, and there's no connection at all. The second is, what were the names of the residencies that you did in Spain, please? And then the third one, can you tell us about the funding for your first art show, how that worked?
That's a lot. I think my performance art, the next, I'll have to ask you again about the next 2, but let me just start with the first one. The performance art is, I think, direct connection to like the painting process that I go through. It's kind of chaotic and messy, but I'm looking for some type of energy. And I like when I did the Justin Bieber show, I showed a couple of those paintings, but out of that residency in Provincetown, I did probably like 20 paintings. And I don't know if you've been like that in your studio. Good. Don't know when to stop. This is shit. Throw it out, and you kind of hold it down. And I feel like there has to be some type of like, I don't know. It has to have a pulse. So the performance piece has to have a pulse. Like that's why I started doing installation performance piece, because I didn't like the idea of just being a filler in between a gallery show where you get to go in and you perform, you're like naked, you do this one thing and then everyone claps and you're gone. It's like, no, like performance art is an experience. And how do you heighten that experience? Painting is an experience. How do you heighten that experience? Like, so I think you have to filter it out and find ways to like give it a punch. So that's how I feel like that performance piece relates to the Tombstone or my painting work. It's providing like a little bit more punch in the gut. For instance, the only time I was like stricken by art, I loved art. I was going to art school. I was in London, and I remember walking through the Tate Modern, and I'm walking through. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. That's cool. Then I went through a room with Francis Bacon's work, and I was like, it turned my stomach in when or turned something in me. And I left, and like that was a new experience, and I found out later like that was the best thing that stuck with me from that whole time. Is that there's artwork that can make you feel a certain way, and that is powerful. So it's like going into the Sistine Chapel or something, and you feel that awe. There's also different ways that you can do that, and Francis Bacon did that to me. So next question, what was it?
The name of the residency in Spain.
The one with Hadith? Yeah, there's one in Hadith on there. It's in protest thing.
Linea de Costa.
Yeah, Linea de la.
Linea de Costa.
Yeah, highly recommended.
It's a beautiful place too, right?
Oh my God.
Just don't be there in July.
No, but just huge gigantic park along the water. So I would wake up, have a coffee, and just walk through all of this like, you know, Mediterranean trees and kind of reflect. Getting a moment to kind of like spend 3 weeks just by yourself and only create is amazing. And then the mud house residency in Crete was life changing. I had a lot of wild stories. I had a great time, but you're in the mountains and you're with like weird, wild Greek people. It was fantastic, and also that, I mean, like I said, I was like just kind of so remote. I remember I was in Athens and I was on the way to the airport, lost my cell phone in the Uber, and I can't speak Greek, so I can't get my Uber driver to come back to me. So I then fly to the island and I'm without a phone, and I was forced to just, for once in like, since I was a kid, have no phone, be isolated, and snake market. And it was probably the best time of my life, to be honest. It was really rewarding. If you do bring your phone there, it's bad reception anyway, so you'll get the same kind of experience. Then there's the third question.
Yeah, if you can talk a little bit how you figured out the funding for your first show, for your first satellite.
All right, starts with location. As they say, location. Find location. Then you need to kind of find out the budgeting to how to make that happen. Okay, that's your overhead. So if it's $50,000, have 20 spaces, and you do the math, then you know that you're going to have promotion, you know, and extra things on top of that. So you kind of have to figure it out that way. Then you have to market it, and you have to sell it, and you have to get artists there, and you have to get the exhibits going. You have to figure out travel and all of that. So it's just a numbers game. It's something that I'm not like, it's stressful. To me, I consider it like a wedding, like you build up for it all year long. And then when you have it and it's over, like the stress is off, but you're like, now I have to do it again for next year. So that's kind of how that feels to me.
Tell the story of how the first one that you came into the side door, or would you rather? I thought that was just really interesting how you ended up running around.
Yeah, all right, I can divulge something. So a lot of the SGA, I started working at this gallery as an art handler in Chelsea. I didn't know that the gallery owner also ran art there. So I figured it was like a 1 week job. I can get, a couple $100. But he liked me, and he was like, would you like to come in and start helping me on this art fair for Miami Art Expo? And I was like, sure. And so I went in there and we started, I had to do cold calls to different galleries and try to persuade them to do the art fair. And I did pretty good. There was like 50 spaces. I got 45 of them in there. And we fly down to Miami to do the art fair. And 45 rooms booked at this hotel. Each hotel room is an art gallery. And I'm like in charge. My boss was like in Wynwood, just across the causeway there, doing his own art fair. And I'm just in charge of the smaller art fair. But he would show up every once in a while, right? And the hotel owner was there. He would show up and he was really sassy and nasty and I don't like this, I don't like that, I don't do that. And I would calm the situation down, and the hotel owner was like 8 months pregnant, and I'm like, I'm telling this guy, like, please, like, you gotta calm it down. This woman's pretty now, and I'm here on site, and I'm your voice. Anyway, he leaves. She looks at me and says, I do not like that guy at all. But if you want to come back next year, you can run your own art fair here. And I didn't really know all of the backstory or how do you put all these pieces together, all the money, like you mentioned, but like, if you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it. Like, that's one of those moments in life where you just gotta say yes. So I said, all right, I'll try to figure it out. And then the next year I did, yeah. So, I just think that's an amazing story. Sort of like this little job art handling turned into a big job running an art fair for this somebody who wasn't really around and was kind of a jerk. And by being just kind of kind and honest and de-escalating conflict and stuff like that, you ended up running an art fair and then stepping up the next time. Pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, having continuing is the hardest thing. I know a lot of people who went to school with me in my same graduating class have thought making art or turned on something different. And the best thing that happened to me is that even being able to do that art there has given me the ability to make my own art and to stay in the art world and stay connected, talk to people, and continue my passion. So. Yeah, just stay at it, find a way. Yeah. Next question, you're going to call people. Can you hold on a second? Anybody else? Yeah.
Like the do's and don'ts, now that you're divorced, in a relationship, as you're an artist, if you may have been an artist, like what are the do's and don'ts?
This is a great question. I mean, my situation is different than everybody's. I do event-based stuff, so like I said, it builds up and then I have the moment, and then the rest of the time I'm making art. And that's really hard for somebody who's going 9 to 5 to work. It was just like a different speed. Like when someone, like my partner was an architect when we were together, whatever. So she worked 9 to 5. And I'd be a little more laissez-faire, doing like some painting and doing this, this and that, and then I go on a trip to Miami. And a lot of that is like it became troublesome. So you have to find a balance. I don't know what the balance is. Ideally, she's just an understanding person, and you're hustling. You have to hustle too. She needs to see you hustle. And support you. You gotta find people that are supportive of each other. I don't know. Are you going through something?
No, I just
Yeah. You gotta be careful. Okay? Love is tough. But you gotta be with the right one, you know? That. Okay. So look at first of the voices.
Work a lot with US media news, and then conspiracy theories, and then you have capitalization. So, people want to talk about that thing. This relationship, because maybe I'm wrong, but I noticed that when we move to Spain, we move to another type of organization. And then because you have different humans, and then Greece becomes nature. So also we think we have the same media competition.
Well, I think US like speaks to that kind of culture media. You're kind of bombarded with it. And that's kind of why I think when I was doing this landscapes and running around in the hills and climbing through windows with 3 women at night, it was just people. Like it was no phone, it was nothing. It was just make art, make love, drink wine, rinse and repeat. And then here in the United States, especially in New York City, you're kind of bombarded with so much content. And you know, you just have to respond to your environment, I feel like, in a way. I don't know if that makes sense, but like the Tombstone was just complete, you know, product of my mind being wrapped around this jerk off in my mind, Republican, I'm sorry. But I did not want to see Donald Trump be president. I thought that was horrific. I thought his commentary was horrific. And it was in the news so much, and I wanted to make a statement piece about my feelings to him. So I think that we're all sensitive in different ways. You know, you respond to what's happening around you in different ways. That was what's happening around me, and I had to respond. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, about like conspiracy organization and
Well, like conspiracy and idolization of media. I think through my work, getting so much like media attention around clown showed me that how thin the actual media is. It's looking for controversy and things that will get clicks. And I tried to use that as an art platform. And I think we all can use it as an art platform. And the thing that I got out of it is taking your art out of the studio and creating some story. The media will pick it up. The media will pick up, you know, anything, family conspiracy or this and that. And the web is filled with ways to promote yourself and to meet new ways. It's right for that. I was just taking advantage of the tools, and y'all can do that too.
What's been fascinational with the towns and so what's the favorite part of
I don't know where you are, what's your name?
your creative process, like either from their idea, you know, the idea or like the part of making it, or afterwards, it's like seeing it absolutely great.
All right, so I don't want to scare anyone. Tell a story? Which one? Never heard. Anyways, when I was like 13, I was hitting puberty. And my father signed me up for this university course at SUNY and Oswego, college upstate. And I got to take my study course for that summer. And there was a football, you can do this and sports and all these activities, right? And I chose mining, clowning, and something to do with bugs. I can't remember the name of it, but. And then I went back home later that day. I'm like, Dad, I picked my classes. My dad's like works at a Miller Brewing Company and loves sports, and he just looks at what I think and like what the heck? Oh, I did like mask making. So then I did that whole summer where I was like dressed like a clown and a mime and making masks and collecting bugs. So that's where like I think the fascination started early on. And then later I remember seeing Paul McCarthy and Mike Kelly film at PS1 where they're like running around going like bananas and dressed as clowns, and I like they did it to me again down in grad school, and I was like, clown thing keeps coming back to me, you know. And I kind of still associate it with me going through puberty and also wearing clown makeup and stuff and all those, you know, weird feelings that you get. So I think it's secret. We have a fractured relationship though. But yeah, I think it's a unique trope and it's something that most people can understand. Kind of like Bigfoot is a unique universal figure that is kind of fun to expand upon. The clown is also fun to expand upon, and it's interesting to see people's reaction when they see that and like respond to that.
I'm not sure you could say you're studying art therapy and SB.
What's that mean? This program.
This program.
Yeah.
I want to ask a question about your work. Always so playful, so humor, during when you are in school.
Yes.
And what kind of artwork you are doing when you are in school?
I remember when I did I opened studios one time, I made like an extra wall outside my studio and I put like a little hole on the other side so my head could fit in it. And so the studio for open studio was me like just naked on the ground and just like no head, with me, my head in the wall. And people would just walk by and it was that was it. And that was the piece. That was the content. Wow. Yeah, wonderful too. Yeah, wonderful. I had a lot of fun in the school. It was a little more rough and tumble that time. Yeah. To say the least, yeah. But it was great. It was a great experience. This sounds right. No. You got to wait for it. Good one.
Thanks for your presentation. And when I see your work, I felt like for my copy, just work like the connection between multidisciplinary work, like, and also Cindy Sherman. So, but when I see their work, like performance or painting, even if they choose another approach of work or material, I felt like there's something very, how can I say, centralized issue for the artist. Yeah. So I was wondering, what is your center issue of your work?
Thought about this earlier today. Do you know Voodoo Child by Jimi Hendrix?
Jimi Hendrix wrote the song right now. Yeah.
Know that song though?
Yeah.
All right. So I consider a lot of the stuff that he's performing like the original Voodoo Child by Jimi Hendrix. And then comes Stevie Ray Vaughan, who does it live in Austin, and it's like Stevie Ray Vaughan, but it's clever. Yeah. But it's like he takes that and goes knocks it out of the park. So I feel like that is kind of what I'm trying to do, is kind of like bring even whether it's absurdity or over the top performance or political commentary. I want to make sure that it's not, I'm not half-assing it. You go all in or you don't go in at all. And I think that's important. And I think the underlying theme is that I'm going to go all in and just, I don't know, whether it's a performance art piece or a political statement or anything, it's got to have like a heart and a soul, purpose. Yeah.
Not to take the hard law or anything, but is it actually illegal to pretend you're someone? Did you have any legal issues with the Justin Bieber thing aside from the
Yeah, so you can, there's impersonators, correct? You can get an Elvis impersonator or something like that. So I'm a known performance artist, so technically I could perform as Justin Bieber. So I was saying I was Justin Bieber. There's a little technicalities in there, you know? And that's when they sent me the cease and desist. I was actually using this image. I was dyeing my hair and I was becoming him, but if I use this image, it was a problem, and there was cease and desist letters sent to me. So I had to work with a lawyer to kind of calm that down. Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna like push buttons, you should know what the legal ramifications are. I recommend that. I have lawyers and attorneys. They will consult with you. The Tombstone one was interesting because I was working with this Spencer lawyer. If you know him, he's a famous photographer, does a lot of new people laying on streets and stuff. He referred me to him for the Tombstone Project. Tombstone Project was the Secret Service and the police and the detectives were going to try to charge me with something. He got it dropped down to a literary fine. So I had to pay like $50.
And you got your Tombstone back.
I got it back.
There was a story in the Times about the artist trying to get a property back from the police, right? Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, I got that back, and now it's going to the University of Massachusetts for an exhibit this week.
So I have a question. Well, it's sort of comment / question. So something for you to respond to. So, you know, well, this thing that we preach, meaning like myself and Matthew Delegate and Shannon Malkin and a few others, is that there are lots of ways to be a successful artist. And that for many of us, perhaps most of us, it might not look like selling every single object that comes out of our studio for 7 figures, having a big studio full of assistants. It might not look like the tenure track teaching position that, you know, gives you financial security so you can do your more traditional work. A lot of us sort of wear many hats and become cultural entrepreneurs of one kind or another. Those of you who are in White Cubes, we went to Wassaic Gallery, which was started by 4 artists, you know, a while back. You know, some of them aren't making art anymore, but you've got these 2-3 hats going, right? I mean, as an artist, you wear many hats actually. You know, painting and doing installation performance, and then you do satellite. And you have this permanent venue space bar in Brooklyn. How's that working out for you? I mean, from the outside, it looks like it's working great. I mean, probably precarious and a lot of stress and hustle, but you're able to make art and constantly be working with artists, and somehow we are now 9 years after you graduated and you're making work and showing it, and here you are speaking at your alma mater. Yeah, how's it working? How's it working for you?
It's about, and that's the beauty of the residency for my art practice is that I am working a lot with different artists and curatorial projects and permitting and doing all that, so I do like taking this one, like 3-4 weeks in the summer to just go and make art and, you know, separate myself from these other stresses. The other stresses are important. Those are what provide me the opportunity to go away and just make art. But I realized I need that time to be away to make the art if I'm trying to make art and also do permitting and planning and site visits for Miami and stuff. It becomes like impossible task. My mind doesn't work that way. It's like two-sided mind, right side, left side, and yeah, the bar is just I have management that can figure that out. I have to delegate roles. I have the thing is, like, when you're growing a company, you're growing even an art practice, and you might have to hire people to help you. So it's kind of like learning that process and being proficient with it. And then having your own time. Most important, I think, we should have our own time as well. That's what I found.
I just want to say for the record that I really like this painting he made in Spain. Those unit paintings, and it seemed like you just switched something on. Like, I mean, that you look like you made like 20 paintings there or something like that, and they're big. Yeah. You know, when I first saw them, I thought they were, 2 by 3 feet, but they're like 4 by 6 feet or even bigger. Yeah. Whole rolls of canvas, like stapled to the wall or whatever. Yeah. What seemed to do that?
I have
Just, just saying.
I'm working on a new series now, and the actual Justin Bieber series is really fun, and those are equally as big. I remember being at SVA, and I was totally in the performance art, right? And I was going through some weird separation with my ex-wife, and I was like sleeping in the studio, which no one should do, by the way. And
for your mental health.
Yeah, for your mental health. We can't do that. This is years ago. And I made this whole album about my separation with my wife. And I had a whole drum set in the studio. I had a guitar, I had a bass, I had a microphone, and I had a keyboard. And I played all of the instruments, and I wrote this weird outer space themed album about the separation from my ex-wife, kind of like a David Bowie Space Oddity type thing. And I remember being excited. I made the video, the audio tracks, and then I did a performance, and I videoed myself as this weird astral rocker who is trying to get back home from a foreign planet to be with his family. And I remember going into the studio, and I won't mention the teacher's name, the professor's name, because I think they're still here. But as I put on the video, okay. Oh, so it was somebody. Put on the video piece. I don't know if you ever had this in the studio session, but I put on the piece, whole class there, and you're like, oh, let's put this video piece. And I hit play, video ends. It was like fire, I'm like, oh boy. And the professor's like, who thinks Brian should start drawing again? Raise your hand. And I think that was like, I I had to go through that process, but like when I went to the rest of Spain, and Greece, and in Provincetown, and just had some time to just work with 2D materials and like get back into the love of that. It was really refreshing, and I have that opportunity again. So
I mean, I like the video and foreign work and the weird thing with the tattooing. I mean, that looks really strong too. It's like it's a very multifaceted practice.
yeah, I feel like it's hard to kind of put it all together, but I think one day maybe it can be put together.
I don't think you need to. I don't think you do. Anyway, thank you.
Thanks for coming to the mandatory lecture.